channel.
Welcome back into our continuing live coverage here of Tropical Storm Debby. I'm meteorologist Chris Bruin in Myrtle's Inlet, South Carolina. This is in the Grand Strand part of South Carolina, so Myrtle Beach not far away. We're just south of Myrtle Beach. You've got Garden City, which is just on the coast from us. Couple miles away, and then you've got Pawleys Island to our south. So we're about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Charleston, and we haven't had the type of rainfall yet here like we've seen in Charleston and across the low country coast. There have been double-digit rainfall totals already in South Carolina, but it's been farther south. Here in Myrtle Beach and across the northeastern part of South Carolina, we've seen anywhere from 2 to over 4.5 inches, and that's been manageable. We've had some street flooding early. I wanted to show you what it looked like this morning when we had that nasty squall line that came through. That was probably the worst of it. Brought in some very gusty winds. Those tropical downpours lasted for about an hour here, or even longer, in Myrtle's Inlet and near Surfside Beach. These are very notorious spots for flooding. Street flooding, when you get a heavy thunderstorm, kind of just sits over you. So tropical downpours, yes. Now, 4 inches and then some drier weather after that, we can handle that. But imagine if we were to get another 8 to 12, because that is a real forecast that is possible in parts of South Carolina. And that's what we're expecting here through the end of the week. Now, if it comes in spurts and it's not all at once, that's going to be a lot better. If it comes at high tide, that's going to be a problem. If it comes at low tide, that'll be a lot more manageable. In fact, we're still at low tide right now, but the tide's starting to come back up again as we head through this evening. In fact, high tide will be around 10 o'clock tonight, give or take 20, 30 minutes, depending upon where you are along the coast. Rainfall, let's talk about that. Another 8 to 12 inches as we expected, on top of what we've already seen through the next 3 days. Tomorrow and Thursday are going to be the worst. We start to see improvements by Friday, and again, it's going to come in squalls. So, Jackie, we got to see if we see training, if we see enhancement with some of these squalls. I will say today's been a little bit tamer, really, across South Carolina, even in Charleston, Hilton Head, Savannah. It's been a lot lighter rain, which we can handle, but those areas have already seen a lot, and inland flooding going to be a big factor, too, into North Carolina as well.
Right. The problem is we've got 2 more days of this, Chris, unfortunately, and it may take a little bit before we get back into trouble. We'll see how some of these bands end up doing. Thanks so much. We want to take a live to Folly Beach, South Carolina right now. And you can see some of the wave action, the cloudy skies here at the moment. Some families out there, if you're walking on the sand, you're fine, but getting in the water, not advisable. We've got rough surf and the threat of rip currents, just dangerous wave action, right? The best thing to do is just stay out of the water, hit the pool if you have a chance, in between storms as they come on, and if you're there on vacation and trying to enjoy yourself and having a little bit of good time in between. But always stay alert. Make sure somebody in your party is responsible and paying attention to what's going on there. We've got multiple flash flood warnings that still remain in effect from north of Columbia all down through Charleston and southward towards Savannah. In fact, it's about 185 miles solid of where we have flash flood warnings. But what's caught my eye here recently are these storms just offshore north of Myrtle Beach, right on the South Carolina, North Carolina state line here. And these storms in here offshore are showing some signs of rotation. So this is going to have to be a little area that we'll need to continue to monitor with time. If it holds together or tightens up, we could get a water spout or two that could ultimately turn into a tornado on the coast. So nothing to be alarmed about right now, but we've got a few areas off there right near where the state lines come together that we'll continue to keep an eye on. Now, as for water level rises, Chris mentioned that high tide is going to be coming in about another, 2.5 hours in some of these areas. All of the storm surge warnings have been allowed to expire and have been canceled, but we still have a storm surge watch, meaning some of the water levels could get a little high, and that's really going to be dependent upon how much Debby could strengthen still, because Debby is pretty much working its way over open water yet again, and we've got very warm waters at the Gulf Stream. So if this thing gets a little farther to the east and there, that's going to push the water a little bit higher. So this is a forecast for the reasonable worst case scenario, and that's why we have the watches in that region, because we could get at that 3-4 foot range potentially. Water levels now are doing just fine, but we do expect them to go up in the next couple of hours as we do approach high tide 10:15, that's the time here in Charleston. And then the next high tide tomorrow morning is going to take place at 10:45 a.m. So hopefully that doesn't get too extreme in the next couple of days. It's really going to be about the flooding. It's going to be about these outer bands and where they train in and bring those heavier rainfall rates. Again, a couple of tornadoes can't be ruled out. You're watching the Weather Channel.